That the significance of Project Life and the trip actually has been and will be analyzed fully from each and every possible angle. So I'd actually like to take this speech onto a much more unique, albeit darker tone. I wish to share with everybody the rather unorthodox impact it had on me, though it may come at the cost of me getting Best Speaker. So how did it affect me? Did it change my perception of the world? Did it change the way I think? Now, everybody has a different experience, and I realize that. And for some of you, it may have been life-changing. But to me, the most striking thing probably wasn't the orphans or the suffering that they've been through. These are things I've seen, and I'm very much aware of them already. So what was it exactly that I took away from this trip? When you were there, did you notice the setting of the places we went to? The town was rather run down and shabby. Red brick buildings, unkempt front yards, cracked roads. There weren't a lot of people around either, and the entire town seemed rather forlorn and desolate and lonely, to be completely honest. And did anybody notice Dr. Dorokovic's house? It wasn't big. It was in the middle of nowhere, a one-story house. We all had to squeeze into that room, and some of us sat in the room outside as well. The walls were plain. The tables weren't expensive. The chairs had nothing special about them. And some of us, me included, were always complaining about how cold it was due to the lack of insulation and heating. Exactly the form of lifestyle a poor middle-class person would have. So where exactly am I heading with this? Well, one day on one of my lazy days of being unproductive, I decided to search him up. So I went on Google, the great search engine. But for a moment, I couldn't exactly remember how to spell his name, and I couldn't remember his first name for that matter. So I started typing up Dr. Duraco, no. But then I realized, right there under the search bar, Google suggestions said, Asaf Dorokovic, nuclear, Asaf Dorokovic, contact, Asaf Dorokovic, poetry. And so I clicked on one of them, and he had one of those automatic biography boxes that was set up right up near the search engine. And then when I looked at, and then I went down to the results, and I saw these. Asaf Dorokovic gives rare interview. Asaf Dorokovic, former U.S. Army Colonel, Chief of Nuclear Sciences Division. Dorokovic, MD, PhD, DSE, FACP. I saw his Wikipedia page. I saw his references, his works, his accomplishments. And I could only sit there in growing incredulity as the list went on and on and on. Why, I thought, why does this man live in such deplorable conditions? Why does he live in the middle of nowhere? Why does he, a man of such accomplishment and intellect, one that far surpasses our own, live in such a state that's devoid of almost all luxuries? And why do we, whose lives have just begun and have accomplished virtually nothing compared to him, why do we live in such favorable conditions that we almost all take for granted, with our countless material comforts and trinkets? What is it that drives him? What is it that keeps him living so humbly, giving away all his assets, and for the benefit of these orphans? A man of such stature and accomplishments forgoes luxuries and dedicates all his wealth, all his heart and soul, even at such an age, to the benefit of others, while we live our luxurious lives, brought upon us by the hard work of others, taking these benefits like they're ours. What does this say about us? What does it say about how we are, or how we act? I stayed up all night thinking about this, and that night, out of guilt, I moved off of my bed and slept on the floor. Take from it what you will, and interpret it how you will, I guess. It may be impactful to some of you, or just take it as a grain of salt. But think about it. Think long and hard about it. A man who forgoes luxuries and dedicates his body and soul to others, compared to the most of us, clinging onto our rather frivolous and trivial objects. What does this say about Dr. Dorokovic? But at the same time, what does this say about us?